Most people spend their entire lives working for money, yet they end up with nothing to show for it. They follow the save and budget rules and they stay exactly where they are. But there is a secret, a mechanical wealth flow that the top 1% use to bypass the grind entirely. It's not about how much you earn, it's about the velocity of your capital. I'm going to show you how to build your own engine, but you have to be willing to tear down everything you know about finance. Subscribe to the channel right now, join the inner circle, and let's master the wealth cascade together. Let's get to work. Let's be honest. It's 11:00 p.m. You're staring at a budget app wondering why you're still broke after working 60 hours this week. You track every cent, you skip the coffee, you pinch every penny. Yet the needle never moves. You feel like a failure. I'm here to tell you, you aren't the problem, your system is. Budgeting is a defensive game. It's a strategy for people who are terrified of poverty, built on the psychology of scarcity. When you budget, your entire focus is on restriction. You're telling your brain that money is a limited resource that must be guarded and denied. But look at the top 1%. Do you think they are stressing over grocery receipts? Of course not. They don't care about saving pennies because they are obsessed with velocity. What is velocity? Think of your income like a river. A budget is a dam. It tries to force the water to sit still, but stagnant water turns into a swamp. Stagnant money loses value to inflation and loses its power to compound. The wealth cascade isn't a dam. It's a waterfall. It's about taking your capital and forcing it through a series of channels that turn it into kinetic energy. You don't manage the river by counting every drop. You manage it by building the infrastructure that directs the flow. Today, we are moving from how much can I save to how fast can I deploy my capital into assets that work. Most people wait until the end of the month to see what's left over to invest. That is the fundamental flaw of the middle-class mindset. If you wait until the end of the month, there will never be anything left. There will always be a surprise expense that claims your leftover money. You are paying everyone else first. Your landlord, your utility company, the streaming services. And then, if you're lucky, you pay yourself. In the wealth cascade, we invert that process. You pay your future self first. You pay your assets first. You automate the flow so that by the time you even see the money in your account, it's already been allocated to growth and legacy. It's not a budget, it's a machine. Stop thinking of yourself as a budgeter. Start thinking of yourself as an architect. An architect doesn't worry about individual bricks as much as he worries about the blueprint. If the blueprint is solid, the bricks fall into place. Over the next 7 chapters, I'm going to show you how to set up the pipes, the automated banking triggers that make your growth inevitable. Don't just watch, execute. Now that we've destroyed the myth of budgeting, let's build the replacement. Your financial architecture must have 3 distinct tiers. Think of these as your personal money chambers. Tier 1 is your operating engine. This is the pool where your active income lands. Its purpose is not to grow wealth, but to maintain your current output. It's your business hub. You want this account lean. Too much cash here is just a temptation to spend. Tier 2 is your growth machine. This is the core of the cascade. This is where your money goes to work. We are talking about aggressive asset allocation, high-return business investments, equity positions, or scalable ventures. This tier is not for safety, it is for multiplication. Tier 3 is your hard floor. This is your fortress. This includes real estate, precious metals, and long-term legacy instruments. Once money reaches Tier 3, it is effectively retired. Its only job is to protect you from catastrophe. The cascade principle is simple. Income must flow into Tier 1, but it cannot stay there. It must be forced by system design into Tier 2, and the profits from Tier 2 must flow into the safety of Tier 3. Most people try to feed all 3 buckets at once by hand. That is why they fail. They lose focus, they get emotional, and they decide to skip investing this month because they want a new watch or a better car. The genius of this architecture is that it is rigid. You aren't making a choice every month. You are adhering to a structural plan. If your income hits Tier 1 and your Tier 2 pipe is set to take 50%, that money is gone before you can rationalize spending it. You are literally building a cage for your impulses. Many people ask me, what if I don't have enough money for 3 tiers? The answer is that the tiers are not based on your balance but on your allocation. If you have $100, you put $50 in Tier 2 and $50 in Tier 1. It's about the discipline of the flow, not the size of the initial pile. This structure allows you to identify where the leaks are. If your Tier 1 is always empty, you have an operating problem. If your Tier 2 isn't growing, you have a deployment problem. If your Tier 3 is non-existent, you have a protection problem. By visualizing your capital as a flow through these 3 specific pipes, you stop feeling overwhelmed by finance and start feeling like an engineer operating a machine. This is the shift from doing money to designing wealth. We are preparing the infrastructure for total automation in Chapter 6, but first, we must master the deployment of the cash itself. Tier 1 is your lifeblood, but treat it like a transit station, not a hotel. Its job is to process your revenue, not to hold it. When your paycheck or business income hits, it should spend no more than 24 hours in this tier. The biggest mistake here is cash bloat. You see a high number in your checking account, you feel successful, and your brain starts to relax. That sense of security is dangerous. It tells your subconscious that you have arrived, or that you have extra money to burn. To execute Tier 1 correctly, you need to establish a baseline operating cost. Calculate your essential business or living expenses. That is your ceiling. Anything above that must be automatically shunted to Tier 2. If you make $10,000 and your operating cost is $4,000, that extra $6,000 is not extra. It is the fuel for your growth. By keeping Tier 1 lean, you force yourself to be more efficient. If you're constantly running out of operating cash, it means you need to increase your income, not dip into your growth bucket. This creates a healthy pressure that pushes you to scale your income higher. This is where the Wealth Cascade differs from a traditional budget. A budget asks, can I afford this? The Cascade asks, does this expense interfere with my growth velocity? If your Tier 1 account is constantly hovering near the empty mark, you are operating at maximum efficiency. You are forced to focus on the only thing that actually builds wealth, increasing the top line. You should also look into high-yield checking or business accounts that earn interest while the money is in transit. Even if it's only sitting there for a few days, that capital should be earning something. You are squeezing every bit of productivity out of your money. Remember, money has no personality. It doesn't care about your feelings or your desire for a comfortable cushion of safety cash. It only cares about utility. If you leave money sitting in a low-interest checking account, you are effectively paying the bank for the privilege of letting them use your capital. Finally, ensure your Tier 1 is disconnected from your personal spending as much as possible. If you use the same card for business and pleasure, you are losing the ability to audit your flow. Keep it sterile. Tier 1 is the machine room, not the living room. This is the heartbeat of your wealth. Tier 2 is where the magic of compounding happens, but it requires the most courage. This is where you deploy your capital into assets that expand your net worth. Most people keep their Tier 2 safe. They put it in low-yield savings or the safest, most boring index funds. That's fine for retirement, but if you want to scale, you need to be aggressive. You need to look at private equity, real estate, or scaling your own business. The rule here is the 3-to-1 deployment. For every dollar you pull out to enjoy, $3 must stay in the growth loop. This ensures that your fortress, Tier 3, grows faster than your lifestyle. Don't fall in love with your investments. Be cold. If an asset isn't delivering, cut it. Your goal is to maximize the velocity of your money, meaning the return on investment, ROI, relative to time. If you have a business, Tier 2 is often the best place to reinvest. If you know your business provides a 20% return, why would you put your money in a 7% market index? That's where the architect mindset comes in. You analyze your own capabilities and deploy where you have the highest leverage. The danger in Tier 2 is analysis paralysis. You'll spend months trying to find the perfect investment. Stop. Wealth is built through consistent, iterative deployment. Get your money into the market or the business and let it work. You can always adjust later. As you get better at Tier 2, you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice which assets perform and which ones just occupy space. This is your training ground. Every dollar you deploy is a teacher, but you cannot master this alone. If you are serious about taking control of your financial destiny, this is the moment to commit. Join our inner circle of architects by subscribing to the channel and clicking the link below to get your Wealth Cascade toolkit. It's time to stop guessing and start building your empire. Do it now. The machine is waiting for your input. Tier 3 is your fortress. When Tier 2 produces profit, we don't spend it, we move it here. Tier 3 is for things that have intrinsic value or generate passive cash flow that you don't need for daily operations. We are talking about real estate, precious metals, intellectual property, or diversified dividend-paying holdings. These are the assets that don't fluctuate with your mood. They are the floor of your financial life. The purpose of Tier 3 is peace of mind. It is the wealth that supports your family and ensures that, no matter what happens in the markets or your business, you have a foundation that can't be easily destroyed. Many people ask me, when do I start Tier 3? You start from the first dollar. Even if it's a tiny percentage of your income, you begin feeding this tier. It's a psychological anchor. It reminds you that you aren't just building for today. You are building for the next 50 years. This is the tier that requires the most legal and structural planning. You want to ensure these assets are shielded from tax friction and liability. This is where you start talking to professionals about trusts or corporations. It sounds like extra work, but it's the difference between having some money and having an estate. Don't let the simplicity of Tier 3 fool you. It is the hardest tier to maintain because it offers the least amount of instant gratification. You won't see big, flashy jumps in your net worth here. You see slow, steady, unshakable growth. It is the boring part of wealth, which is exactly why most people fail at it. They get bored and move their money back to Tier 2 to chase higher returns. Resist that urge. Your Tier 3 is the safety net that allows you to take massive risks in Tier 2. If you know you have a solid Tier 3 foundation, you can be bolder in your business. You can take on projects that others are afraid of because you know your floor is secure. This is the paradoxical secret of the wealthy. By being conservative with your fortress, you become more effective at being aggressive with your engine. Always keep Tier 3 separate. Use a different bank, different login, different strategy. It should feel distant. If it's easy to access, you will access it. By adding friction to the withdrawal process of your Tier 3 assets, you ensure they remain untouched. You are not a bookkeeper. You are an architect. If you are manually transferring money, you are failing the system. You need to build the automation matrix. This involves API-based banking triggers. When a deposit hits your Tier 1 account, the trigger fires. A set percentage moves to Tier 2 and a smaller percentage moves to Tier 3. It happens in milliseconds. No willpower is required. If you rely on your own decision-making, you will fail. You'll be tired, you'll be stressed, or you'll be distracted. Systems don't get tired. Systems don't get emotional. Systems don't want to buy a new car. Set this up with your bank today. Almost every modern business or brokerage account has an auto-invest or scheduled transfer feature. Use it. Create a cascade sequence. If your income is unpredictable, set a percentage-based trigger rather than a fixed dollar amount. When you wake up, the money is already gone to where it needs to be. You learn to live on what's left. It sounds intense, but it is the single most freeing thing you will ever do for your financial life. You'll be surprised at how fast you adapt. When you don't have excess cash sitting in your Tier 1 account, you stop thinking about how to spend it. You focus on the next project, the next deal, the next way to get more revenue. You change your focus from expenditure to expansion. This is also how you protect yourself from lifestyle creep. As your income grows, your cascade grows with it. You don't get richer in your lifestyle, you get richer in your assets. Your assets grow in the background while you continue to live your life. The automation matrix is the ultimate test of your commitment. It's easy to say you want to be wealthy. It's hard to build a system that forces you to be wealthy. But once it's set, you're done. The work is in the setup, not the maintenance. If you find yourself going into your accounts and overriding the triggers, you haven't yet mastered the architect mindset. Go back to chapter 2. Remind yourself why you built this machine. The machine is smarter than you are. Let it do its job. You've built the machine. Now you scale it. As your income grows, your ratios shift, but the pipes remain the same. The Wealth Cascade is infinitely scalable. It works at $5,000 a month, and it works at $500,000 a month. The only thing that changes is the pressure you put through the system. You now have a system that is stronger than your self-discipline. You have a path that is clearer than your competition. Your only job now is to increase the volume of the river. You will face moments where you want to quit. You will have market crashes. You will have business failures. The Wealth Cascade handles all of that. It keeps you moving. It keeps the water flowing. Success is not a destination. It is a velocity. It is the speed at which you learn, adapt, and deploy capital. You are now playing a different game than everyone else. While they are tracking pennies, you are building a legacy. Stay the course. Don't let the simplicity of the system fool you into thinking it isn't working. The most powerful forces in the universe, like gravity and compounding interest, are simple. They just work. Your journey doesn't end here. It begins. Now that you have the infrastructure, your focus must be on increasing your market value so you have more capital to feed into the cascade. Go out, solve bigger problems, and capture more value. If you're ready to master this system and truly scale, don't stop now. Join our inner circle, subscribe to the channel, and check the description for the link to get your Wealth Cascade toolkit. We've given you the blueprint. The rest is up to your execution. See you at the top.